Hey, everybody, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. I need to, you know, dispel a rumor or just a notion or just seemingly hints have been dropped that something is going to happen at Double or Nothing that AEW fans are clamoring for, because the big hot rumor, at least in AEW, WWE fandom, is that Mariah May, the former AEW Women's World Champion, former Owen Hart Cup winner, one of the brightest young stars in women's wrestling, is going to go to WWE when her contract is up. That has been reported for at least a month. And for whatever reason, because this match got made between Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa, and then Mariah May on her social media put a photo of her and Mina, and there's been a lot of subtle, cryptic posts from her recently with the AEW championship, of her within AEW talking about returning or loving what there was a lot of stuff that's come out, but I've just seen this a lot since Wednesday, since this match got made. Everybody's saying, well, Mariah May is going to show up in that match. Based off of what? Based off of what? You guys realize that wrestlers can be trolls, okay? I don't think she's coming back. And there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, it's almost like she has been dropped off the face of the earth since the match at Revolution, which did not main event, by the way, and it should have. So that was the first red flag, that literally since Toni Storm beat her at Revolution in Los Angeles back in March, it's like Mariah May's a ghost. She has not been mentioned. She has not been talked about. It's almost like she is gone from the company already. So why, after 2 months away, with no mention of her whatsoever, does she just show back up? Because Mina and Toni, she's got a history with. Also, if she was going to come back involving herself in a world championship match, why would she do it when they're literally crowning the Owen Hart Cup tournament that she won, by the way, last year to earn a women's championship match? Why is she not involved in it? None of this makes any sense. All of you people that think Mariah May is showing up at Double or Nothing, she's not. This is quintessential Tony Khan benching talent that he knows is going to leave. She's gone. And I think she signed a contract officially. She officially debuted in November of 23, but I think she officially signed in August. So by some portion in the summer or fall of this year, she's going to be in WWE. It's done. If you're looking for somebody that's going to debut at Double or Nothing, I would say Thekla from Stardom, who has been rumored to have signed with the company. I just don't see a scenario that makes any lick of sense that Mariah May shows up. The only thing that I will say to the people, and if you want to dunk on me after this, if Mariah May does show up, there will be this caveat. Even if she does show up at Double or Nothing to say, let's say, cost Mina the world championship, all that could mean is, hey, they're setting up a match between Mina and Mariah at whether it's All In or on Dynamite, for Mariah to put over her friend, certify her as a star in AEW, and go off to WWE. Which the saying is, when you're leaving a company, you go out on your back. That's usually the saying in any wrestling promotion ever. So I don't foresee that happening, because the way Tony Khan has operated when he knows people are going to leave is he just parks them. Like what happened with Rey Fenix? What happened with Penta? What happened with the Ricky Starks? I could come up with a countless amount of Rusev, people that he is not going to use, or he doesn't think has any value or has no interest in working for him. He's just going to park them, and he's not going to use them, which in my eyes is bad business. It's like, if you have these people under contract, why not use them to put over your other talent on your roster? That's why they're there. And I mean, if they don't want to do business, that's a completely separate issue. But seeing that Mina and Mariah are friends, I could totally see that scenario playing out. But based off of the history that we have seen of Tony Khan and how he does business, I don't see this happening. I've been on this for a couple of months that Mariah's leaving. She's leaving because I think she sees the writing on the wall. Willow Nightingale was a completely different story. Willow has been presented and been a key figure in AEW content for a while now. And I hope that now that she is signed up, that she's going to either A, be the person who ends up being the next women's world champion after Toni Storm, or whether it's Mercedes Moné or Jamie Hayter. I hope that Willow gets her moment. And because she's kind of gotten screwed over a little bit lately. Like, she won the Owen Hart Cup tournament when it meant nothing. She basically jobbed out to Mercedes after winning the TBS championship for a month to get into a feud with Chris Statlander that, never really got paid off. Although I will give AEW's been very inconsistent with their booking. At least Willow and her story with Chris Statlander and her not being able to trust her is actually consistent. It's one of the very few things that's been consistent in this promotion. But big picture, anybody who's looking at this random thrown together women's world championship match, which is basically just to give Toni Storm something to do rather than just have her sit, which on some level I kind of admire, but we know she's not losing the championship. It's been very heavily hinted that we are going in all in with her as the women's world champion against whether it's Jamie Hayter or Mercedes Moné. I think it's going to be Mercedes Moné. I would love to be wrong about that. I really would. But if you're one of these people who's wishfully thinking that Mariah May is somehow going to magically show up after dropping off the face of the earth for basically 2.5 months, not even being mentioned on television, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. And even if it does happen, it doesn't mean that she is re-signed with AEW. Does not mean that she is re-signed with AEW whatsoever. There's no reason to believe that, because everything that you have seen, as I've said, wrestlers are trolls. They're trolls. And what she's been doing with all these cryptic posts and everything is trying to keep herself in the news and get herself talked about, which is the right thing to do. Because she is going to be, if she does get to the open market, a very hot commodity. And it's very clear that from past posts, WWE has always been the end goal for her. And, seeing the way that WWE has started to, beef up their women's division and actually treat their women like they matter, I think it's a no-brainer for Mariah May to go to WWE. Like, Women's Intercontinental Championship match at Backlash was great. You had an amazing Women's Championship match on SmackDown with Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. Like, Mariah May did all of that did all of the Women's Championship and had one of the worst title runs ever, but her story arc was incredible. So, I just, like I said, I think a lot of people are reading way too much into this situation. And again, like I've been saying for multiple months, I fully expect by the end of the year, Mariah May to be in WWE, probably in NXT, because she's young enough where, it makes a bunch of sense. And I think they're starting to move a bunch of NXT people up to the main roster. Julia's now on SmackDown. I'm assuming Roxanne Perez is going to be on Raw moving forward. At some point, Stephanie Vaquer is going to be up. Jordan Grace is still there. Like, the women's division in WWE is insane. And yes, on some level, you could look at that and say, well, why wouldn't she stay in AEW when she can be presented like a top star? If you look at the AEW women's division, no matter who you are, unless you're Toni Storm or Mercedes Moné, you're not going to matter. You're getting buried. Like, Thekla could show up, and it's not going to mean anything because she's just going to job out to whoever's there. And maybe Mina Shirakawa becomes a mainstay in this division, but putting her in a women's championship match right away when she's officially an AEW contracted wrestler doesn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense, because it feels like a throwaway match. You're not even really building to it. She just got a fluke win against Toni Storm. I give Toni Storm credit for taking the fall in that match, because most people would not have the balls to do that. Mercedes, not a lot of people would do that when they're the champion. There's no fault in that. But we know where this is going. So if you're one of these sickos who just thinks that, hey, we got one up on WWE, if Mariah May was coming back, she would have been mentioned on television by now, or at least subtly hinted at, not just been thrown in a random video package to hype up a match at the pay-per-view. I just don't see it. And again, like I said, even if we go past the step of that, I still think she's going to WWE. It's the better move for her. It just feels like it makes a hell of a lot more sense. And it's just like, I don't see a pathway forward after the Toni Storm feud. I just don't. And I think she sees the writing on the wall too. She signed a short-term deal to kind of, put herself in a position to go where she wants to go, which was WWE. All right. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.